What is up, everyone? P-Don's here, and I am back to bring you all another team analysis for a new draft league I am participating in. This would be the Victory Draft League, and specifically their Searing Shot division. Basically, this is a league that I've seen around ever since I joined UGA and started to play some more leagues. I always figured that the standard of competition in this league was pretty high, so when applications opened up for a Dynamax division, I wanted to give it a shot. But this is obviously a new league for me. Some people may not know who I am, so here's a little bit of background of who I am, I guess. The funny thing about World specifically is I'm recording this about 48 hours before I leave to play in London. So I've got a lot on my plate right now, but well, I'm doing the best I can, and I guess we're gonna try to win a World Championship next week. But yeah, I have a lot of managerial experience. I've got some playing in front office experience, and yeah. Now this team, though, it's not just a draft league team in this kind of fashion. The Snowbelle Blizzards, they were created in 2014 as a farm team for NPA, which is, if you've been around, you might know that it's VGC's community's longest running player draft league, where we draft players, not Pokemon. We entered the league as a real team in NPA 8, and we've had a lot of success. We won the league in NPA 9, we got to the top 4 in NPA 10, and the season that ended in May, we got second place. But we lost to our arch rivals, so yeah. But yeah, I'm running with the name in multiple draft leagues now. I mean, why not? So, this league has some interesting rules. We're playing Series 9, just to be expected. You're only guaranteed one Tier 1. So, you take one Tier 1, 2 Tier 2s, 2 Tier 3s, 2 Tier 4s, and 1 Tier 5. Then you've got 275 points for 3 free picks, which you can see the allocation. It costs a lot to be able to take 2 Tier 1s in this league. And I did get the 12th pick in the draft. In some leagues, that might be a snake pick, or like at the end where I can double up on something, or it might be towards the end. No, in this league, it is directly in the middle because this draft features 24 teams. Fortunately, I do have experience drafting in this manner. In UGA, I got the 9th pick out of 16, so I had to draft in the middle there. Drafting in the middle now, so I have a general idea of what I need to do. And I got to take flexible Pokemon that more easily combo with each other, or to cover the team, rather than focus on drafting specific combos. Like, if I draft Torkoal, is Venusaur really getting back to me? So that's stuff I kind of have to think of as I'm planning. And with 24 teams, 11 Pokemon each, 24 times 11, 264 total Pokemon are going to be drafted. So there are a lot of things that are going to be drafted that may not be drafted in a lot of other leagues. So the draft pool is absolutely going to be stretched. And if you want something in this league, you have to go and grab it. Like, you have so many picks between, like where I am. I think it was like I had to wait 24 picks to get another one on average. There's some people who could potentially be waiting 46 picks to pick again. If you want something, you don't know if it's coming back. You have to grab it. even if it's possible reach. And this is what I was thinking too when the 12th pick came around. Essentially, I wanted to grab Dragapult or Celesteal. They were gone. Togekiss, good backup, gone. Indy DF also went, gone. So this is a league where 2 out of the 6 Follow Me Mons have already been drafted. You have 2 more in Tier 1, 1 in Tier 2, and 1 in Tier 4. With 6 Follow Me users in 24 teams, only a quarter of the league is going to have access to this move. So after looking at the draft board, thinking about all my options, I ended up making a tough, but I think necessary decision to take Togetic with the 12th overall pick of the draft. So Togetic is a Tier 2 pick. That was pretty important because, as I mentioned, Tier 1s, you're only guaranteed 1. The more flexible ones in Togekiss and Indy DF were gone. So, yeah, Clefairy, Clefable are better than Togetic, but would I be able to justify spending one of my 2 Tier 1 picks on essentially a Follow Me bot that can maybe contribute some offense occasionally, like Clefable? I really felt I could not do that, and I needed to grab Tier 1s that can actually set up to win games, like offense or something. So that, by necessity, kind of made me have to zero in on Togetic as the 12th overall pick. So yeah, but it does start the Fantasy Core. As I mentioned, it's one of the 6 Follow Me users in Sword and Shield. It can support and redirect as needed, but it does have a base 80 special attack, so you'll get decent shit with Dazzling Gleam if you throw it on. It doesn't commit me to a specific draft path immediately. Like, I could definitely draft a setup mon. I could draft something that's going to sit there and soak up damage. I can draft a Trick Room mon, a Tailwind mon. Like, picking something like Togetic as the 12th overall pick does give me the ability to build my draft later, which I think is very important with a field this big. I also felt it's one of the best value picks in the draft, even for a Tier 2, because of the access that it gives me to Tier 1. And at this point, as I mentioned, I felt it was necessary at 12th because there were 4 Follow Me's left, and it was the Togetic, the 2 Tier 1s, the Clefairy, Clefable, and Togepi. And I was not looking forward to drafting Togepi down the line, to be quite honest. So Togetic was absolutely necessary. Now, as for my next pick, after I drafted Togetic, I made a list of the Tier 1s that I thought would be good to draft, that I could potentially pair with Togetic. So, essentially, I was hoping a bunch of them got back to me. There were 4 of them specifically that I wanted. And it was a matter of if they were going to survive back to my next pick, which was number 37. Immediately after I picked Togetic, one of the 4 Galarian Moltres went with the very next pick. So we're not off to a good start. But, as it so happened, people started picking things they liked, they wanted to build around, but none of them were some of these mons that I actually really wanted. And eventually it gets back to 37, and 3 of them are still on the table. So at this point, it's not me picking the one that's left, it's me having to think about which one is best. And after thought and consideration, I went with Cinderace. Okay, so simply put, Cinderace is a monster. It was actually considered at 12 for me. I was assessing whether or not I would need to take Follow Me or one of those users there, and if I decided the answer was no, Cinderace was a very realistic possibility for me in the first round. The fact that I was then able to get it at 37 with Togetic, I absolutely love that. It's one of the premier offensive threats in Tier 1. Thanks to Libero, I'm getting stab on every attack I use. So essentially, it almost acts as a built-in choice band. And then hypothetically, I could actually give it a choice band, and now I've got an adaptability Cinderace. Good luck, everyone. The stat line actually compares somewhat to Dragapult's. Dragapult is a little more bulky, does have the more special attack, and is obviously like 23 points faster, I think, offhand. But I mean, this is still a 119 speed Pokemon, and you're still getting stab on every attack you do. Like, it's not Dragapult, but it's close enough. And you know, it has some supportive moves it can utilize as well, like Feint if you really need to pick something off before Prankster goes off. Taunt. It's one of the few non-fighting types to get coaching, and then of course it turns itself into a fighting type when you use coaching. And Court Change for some reason. I don't think I've ever seen that used in VGC, but who knows? It's a draft league. This also starts a Fire Water Grass core for me, and thanks to Libero and its use of many attacks, it starts a Fantasy core with Iron Head. It's a ground immunity with Bounce, Prankster immunity with Sucker Punch, electric immunity if I use Scorching Sands on it. I mean, this thing can be fun. And yes, I am channeling my inner Wakeman VGC with this pick. Essentially, if anyone has played the Great Lakes Draft League or any of those other leagues, Wakeman VGC is pretty much known for drafting Cinderace and doing well with it. He actually won the Empoleon division of Great Lakes Draft League with Cinderace this year, and I'm gonna have to be dealing with it in a few weeks in the UDL auction league. So yeah, he's got a lot of success with it, and I'm hoping to replicate it. And something I didn't write, but I'm going to point out anyway. The first draft league I ever was involved in was WBE VGC when I was helping Steph with anime. Our very first pick of that draft, and the very first pick I ever assisted with playing any of these draft leagues, was Cinderace. I have not gotten Cinderace back since then until this draft. So I was excited to help Steph use it back in the day, and now I want to see what I can do with it myself. All right, so we've got a nice core with a Togetic and Cinderace. You get the redirection for the Libero physical attacker. At this point, I want to think a little bit about maybe my slow mode, and I figure it's probably time to draft a good Trick Room setter, so I can build that out later. But how about a Trick Room setter that can also support Cinderace? Well, I found one. Gothorita. With Gothorita, it's tier 3 pick, and I specifically chose it over tier 2 Gothorita in this draft because I needed the tier flexibility. My two tier 2s, if I chose Gothorita, would have been Togetic and Gothorita. Mons I love dearly, but also Mons that I think might stop me from reaching my full offensive potential if I had those two occupying tier 2. So to mitigate that, I went Gothorita for this draft. Gets Shadow Tag. I mean, the ability's beautiful. So that's also what I meant by supporting Cinderace. If you lock something in, Cinderace can basically change to its stab weakness and probably just decimate the opponent. So that's something they're definitely going to have to prep for, especially since Gothorita can also get Helping Hand to boost Cinderace attacks more. Fake Out, maybe knock out the Prankster Mom before it moves, etc., etc. And it's actually bulkier than Gothorita with Eviolite. Can't run Gothorita the same way as you would Gothorita, but you do get a lot of bulk as a trade-off. And because it's slower, you have a chance to do different combos with it. Like, for example, one league, I had Gothorita and Turtonator, and I was able to use Gothorita to proc Turtonator's weakness policy because I could get Gothorita slower than Turtonator. You really can't do that with Gothorita. And to address the elephant in the room, the Eviolite fight between Gothorita and Togetic tends to not be an issue. In the current UDL auction league, I got both Togetic and Gothorita, and I've been able to utilize them in such a way where they both very rarely fought over the Eviolite. Sometimes only one would come, sometimes none of them would come, and the times where both of them would come, I was able to play with the defensive EVs enough to where I could easily give the Eviolite to one of them and a Focus Sash or a Berry to the other one. So, yes, it can be an issue, but I'm not expecting it to be a big issue. Okay, so I have my Cinderace, I have my Redirection, I have my Trick Room. I would like to get a special attacker that can function in Trick Room for my next pick. So I'm watching the draft go, and we get into round 4, and one of the tier 1s that I considered at 12 was somehow still available as well. So seeing that, I just had to jump on it. I was not going to let this go. And that Pokemon at 84th overall was Lapras. Now, this is where I dipped into my free points and picked my second and final tier 1 of the draft. Basically, it has the stats and move pool to allow me to run it offensively, defensively, or supportively with some success. And I can even run this thing as a special attacker or physical attacker if I really wanted to. G-Max Resonance is an amazing move. You can crush things with like a base 130, 140 max move, and then you get Aurora Veil set up. Like, that's fantastic. Plus, I've got Shadow Tag on this team. Lapras gets Perish Song. I've now got a Perish Core, which makes Lapras really strong here. It also is 2/3 of the Fire Water Grass core with Cinderace. Now, both Cinderace and Lapras do like to max and reach their max potential when they max, but you can play Cinderace and Lapras in a way where they don't have to max to get the most out of what they do. So it will be a bit of juggling and team planning, but it is entirely feasible to run both of them on the same team. So I am very happy that 2 picks that I was considering at 12 fell to me in rounds 2 and 4. So that alone, I feel like vindicated the Togetic pick at 12. Plus the fact that all Follow Me except Togepi was gone at like 27, and then Togepi didn't even get out of the second round. But yeah, so we've got these very strong offensive mons and these great supportive pieces. So now we need to start rounding out the team. So I think about it a bit, and essentially this was sitting right here. Marowak was right there, and I felt it was perfect at the time. It's a tier 3 pick. As you can see, Lapras is weak to electric attacks. Togetic is weak to electric attacks. Cinderace doesn't want to be Thunder Waved. So you throw Marowak on the team, and Lightning Rod is taking all those attacks. It's also another strong physical attacker that I can utilize in Trick Room. You throw Thick Club on it, and its attack goes to the moon, and you've got access to 9 physical max moves, meaning you can get a little creative on what Marowak's actual set is. With a 60, 110, and 80 bulk, you can take a few hits. I would still probably keep it away from Max Geysers, but overall, yeah, it can definitely live a hit or two. And if I've got nothing better to do, Marowak can also Perish Song. Like, I've got a Lapras. I'm really not expecting Marowak to do that too much, but it is an option. So, good on you, Marowak. Alright, so I've got these 5. The tier 5s haven't really been touched yet. I mean, I think there was 1 or 2 taken, but as a whole, the tier hasn't really been, like, gone through yet. So, liking what I have now, I decide to try to find the best value I can in the lower tiers. Tier 5, maybe tier 4 if something really sticks out, but with how many coaches there are in this league, and how useless some of the tier 5 mons can be, I wanted to make sure I grab one that's good before I lose the opportunity to do so. And something really caught my eye in tier 5. And when the draft came back to me and it was still around, I was very happy to take it. And that would be Vileplume. Vileplume completes the Fire Water Grass core with a tier 5 pick. Now, why was I so happy this fell? It is much higher tiered than other leagues. Tier 3 in the Great Lakes Draft League. Tier 3 in the UDL Auction League. Tier 5 out of 7 in PDCL. This is essentially 2 tiers below where it's been averaging. And then you look at the stat line. Like, it's at least close enough to Venusaur. Like, obviously Venusaur, you get stuff like Weather Ball, Earth Power, and you can G-Max. It's obviously tier 1 where it should be, but these stats are not bad. So basically, with the move pool it has, like, obviously you get the stabs, you get some fairy type attacks, you do get some supportive moves as well with Leech Seed, Strength Sap, Sleep Powder. The fact that it can function both in Sun and in Trick Room, and you have all this in tier 5 Pokemon, I don't know how well I will use it, but on paper, I think this is the steal of the draft. And hopefully I will be able to demonstrate that. Alright, so coming along pretty nicely here. But I would still like a stronger special attacker. Like Lapras can do it, yes, that's great. Vileplume can do it, yes, but it's still a little bit unproven for me. So for my next pick, I wanted to go down into the tier 4s and make sure I got something I could utilize with what I'm building. And with that, I went Rotom-Frost. Rotom-Frost is a tier 4 pick. In my opinion, there's enough differentiation from Lapras that I can justify having 2 ice types like this. Obviously, close combats are not going to be fun with Lapras and Rotom, but I mean, Vileplume resisted, Gothorita resisted, Togetic quad resisted and can redirect it. So I'm betting I will probably be fine. The rock weakness, I guess, is annoying, but we'll just have to deal. And it's still a Rotom form, you know. The tier and the typing, maybe not so good, but I still have Rotom's bulk stats. I still have its supportive move pool like Will-O-Wisp, Thunder Wave, Eerie Impulse, Pain Split if I go bulky. And it's got stabs on Bolt Beam. That alone makes it pretty strong. And because it does get Nasty Plot, I can, assuming I'm not taking a Rock Slide, I can follow me and Nasty Plot, and I'll have a pretty strong Maxmon next turn. Or I could just go Blizzard Spam. I can do a bit of Disc Quaking with Marowak. I go Discharge with the Rotom and Earthquake with the Marowak. They're not hurting each other. It's a slower combo than how Garchomp used to do back in the day, or Landorus. But hey, it's still effective. And yeah, the ground immunity is always helpful. Like, anytime you can deny your opponent a Max Quake boost by just, like, swapping this in, yeah, that's good. Alright, so we've got 7 picks. We have to find 4 more. And this is around the point in the draft where I start to notice that things are being a little stretched thin. So I'm going to have to try Mons that look like they can fit, that maybe I haven't used before. And this pick fits that bill entirely. Dust Lycanroc. It's a tier 4 pick. Got base 110 speed and tough claws. So, like, its close combats are going to be doing a ton. Its crunches are going to be doing a good amount. Rock Slide isn't going to get the boost, but it's still stab, so it's good. I do get one of only 3 users with the Excel Rock move, you know, priority rock type attack. So I've got some weakness policies I can proc using that. Rotom, Lapras, maybe something else coming up. We'll have to see. But yeah, it assists with priority and proccing some weakness policies. I can also throw a support move or 2 on it, like Snarl, Taunt, Scary Face, and Howl. Like, Cinderace is really going to appreciate some Howl boost. So, yeah, I mean, it's the first time I've ever drafted a Lycanroc form. It's almost certainly because with 24 teams and drafting in the same pool, now you're really starting to notice the Mons start to get a little bit unavailable. But hey, this looks like it does have a lot to offer, and I'm glad I found it. So, at this point, we have 8 Mons. I need to fill out my Tier 5 free, my Tier 4 free, and my remaining Tier 2 slot. I'm looking around the league. I'm seeing a lot of teams with oppressive abilities potentially forming. So I decided to go back to an old friend of mine, Koffing. It's a Tier 5 pick, so 50 points. I've got 75 points left, which will be a Tier 4. Neutralizing Gas makes it a worthwhile pick in an otherwise weak tier overall. There are obviously some Mons that can do some things in tier 5, and I drafted one in Vileplume, but especially at this point, the tiers are starting to dwindle a bit. I'm starting to see places where an ability team might cause a problem for me, so I definitely wanted to bring the support. Especially too, since both Weezing and Galarian Weezing were drafted, meaning I couldn't even take them in the grace period if I wanted to. But Koffing with Neutralizing Gas can affect the 11v11 week preview without even coming sometimes. So having that is an asset. But against teams that need abilities, I can also bring it. Obviously, I have Libero, I have Shadow Tag, I've got Lightning Rod, I've got Levitate. These are good abilities, but my team doesn't need them to function. So, if I strategically employ Koffing, I should be hurt less than my opponent when abilities are shut off. It's also not completely useless in battle. I mean, it has decent defense, and its support move pool solid, and it can take a hit. So, is it going to sit on my bench a lot? Probably. But is it going to make an appearance or 2 and impact the game? Almost certainly yes. So, I'm definitely glad to have been able to pick it up. We've got 2 picks left now, and I really want to address this rock weakness. Togetic, Cinderace, Lapras, Rotom, maybe even another pick. Like, I think the rock weakness is a little overblown based on the way the team is going to play, but it doesn't look great in type charts. I can admit that. And at this point, Marowak's the only resist. So I wanted to get something that could resist rock and do well for the overall squad. And with that, I found this bear in Tier 4, Bewear. It was a Tier 4 pick, so that cost me 75 points, and now all my frees are done. As I mentioned, I specifically wanted a Rock Resist. But Fluffy also helps out well with other physical attacks, since a lot of them are direct contact. And yeah, so I basically got a physical wall out of this too. But some weeks I can also run it with Unnerve. So if you've got like a Cobra Berry to take Cinderace's Max Airstream, well, now I'm switching in Bewear and it's not activating. And there are some calcs where you EV to survive with a Citrus or like Figgy Berry or something like that. I'm stopping that too. It does have good offense at 125 attack, and it's got reasonable bulk at 120, 80, and 60. The 80 plus the Fluffy is great. 120 base HP is great. I'll have to be a little bit careful with the special defense, but I think it can be played around. It's got physical max moves off of 11 types, so I can, if I do want to max it, I do have options. And this is definitely a Pokemon I don't look at if this draft doesn't have 24 teams. Like, it has good stuff on paper. It's just something I know I would have passed over if the draft had like even like 16 teams or something. So this draft definitely did get me thinking, and stuff like Lycanroc and Bewear were pretty good beneficiaries to it. Alright, so I have to draft the Tier 2 Mon. I was considering a special attacker, but I didn't like what was available. I also don't have Tailwind at this point, so I was looking around, maybe seeing like I could grab a good one. And you know what? The answer was right in front of me. It's something I've used before, something I know is good, and something I can do a lot with. And that Pokemon is Aerodactyl. Aerodactyl was available in the last round of this draft. It's a Tier 2 pick. I needed fast Tailwind. Aerodactyl also offers other support options, like you can taunt, you can whirlwind something out, stop Trick Room, Wide Guard. Like, I've got 5 Mons weak to Rock. Wide Guard is really going to help with Rock Slide, even in a max league. So, yeah, we've got that. It's strong enough to be an offensive weapon because it's got 105 attack and 130 speed, and it's got a decent offensive move pool. And Unnerve, like on Bewear, especially in Aerodactyl, since it'll probably have more use on Aerodactyl than Bewear. It's fantastic for denying type resist berries and messing up damage calcs that are reliant on healing berries. And you know, both Lapras and Lycanroc can also proc Aerodactyl's weakness policy, Ice Shard and Excel Rock. That is so kind of them. So I've got these 11 Pokemon, and I do like them a lot. Some of the team strengths include 2 fantastic max options in Cinderace and Lapras, plus support by Pokemon like Togetic, Gothorita, and Aerodactyl. You've got your Follow Me, you've got your Trick Room, Shadow Tag, Helping Hand, and you've got Tailwind. I can play this team fast, like with Tailwind going up, Cinderace's speed, potentially even D-Max Cinderace, setting the sun for Vileplume, and it's also slow enough to play in Trick Room. Base 60, I feel, is slow enough for Trick Room for Lapras. I also get slower Vileplume and Marowak, so I can definitely utilize Trick Room against some teams. The offensive power is explosive. There's simply no other way to put it. Cinderace alone is goated with how strong it can get. Plus I've got some setup options with Rotom, think the Lycanroc gets Swords Dance. Marowak with a thick club just destroys things. And honestly, Lapras can do pretty well there too. I mean, you've got some niche weeks where it can maybe run a Dragon Dance set, but just throw a Life Orb or something on that, and G-Max Resonance is murdering things and giving you screens. So you've got the offensive power as high as it is, and I feel like there's enough bulk on the team to slow down opponents. I touched on it a bit, but multiple Pokemon have flexibility in how they are run on a week-to-week basis. Cinderace, sometimes you could make it a little more supportive for Lapras. Lapras can be run physically especially. Vileplume can be run offensively or supportively. Yeah, like these mons do have the ability to change roles on a week-to-week basis. And with how many teams there were, I feel like the overall draft value is good despite having 24 teams. There are only 2 Pokemon that I feel like I had to consider as a result of the current field being so diluted, but I'm also happy with them, with the Dusk Lycanroc and the Bewear. I see the potential for them to do good things. However, there are some weaknesses, and I think some of them are, while you can play around them, are obvious. Five Pokemon a week to rock. For people who care more about the type charts than how a team runs, that's gonna drive you guys crazy. However, I do feel it is partially mitigated by Aerodactyl not really caring too much. Like it's kind of frail enough that it's probably gonna sash it or just park a policy on it and go to town. Cinderace can change its type anyway, and Marowak and Bewear do resist rock, so there are ways to deal with it. There are some other common weaknesses as well, like I noticed some fighting weaknesses and some water weaknesses, but I also feel like there's enough here in offense to potentially KO the threats before they become problems. And yeah, an explosive team, and you've got one when you have a Cinderace, it will sometimes sacrifice defensive synergy to pick up faster KOs. Though with Lapras, with Togetic, Gothorita even, I think this team can play slower versus some other teams if needed, so I don't think it's completely hyper-offensive. But what it is, however, I think might be a little too physically offensive. Lapras can go special, Vileplume can go special, Rotom can go special, but optimally, I think I would want one more special attacker, and I will look to address it as the season goes on. Who knows? Maybe I've got the right balance of physical and special, and I have the right mons in the right roles, and I can do what I need to. In that case, that's great. But if not, I've got transactions available to me, and I will see what I can do. The overall assessment I have is I think this is a good, solid team, especially for a 24-person draft. Like, this is something I could see almost happening in a 12-person draft, and probably happening in a 16-person draft. So the fact that I was able to get this kind of draft with 24 people means I think I did well with the value, and I think I did a good job getting all the pieces that I needed with what was available. Team is capable of explosive offense, slowing the game down with bulk and screens, and waiting out opponents with a Parastrat mode. It was a tough decision to do so, but looking back, I do think drafting Togetic at 12 was the absolute right decision. It also allowed me to pick up pieces that could be supported by it, and made sure I had access to follow me. which by the end of round 2 was completely gone. Shared weaknesses and physically leaning team can be annoying, but I think if I run this team properly, it's not going to kill me. Like, I think there are ways around the fact that a lot of my opponents may EV to be more physically bulky, may be able to exploit weaknesses a bit. I do see ways I can deal with it. So with that, I believe I could take this team to at least the playoffs if I play to the best of my ability. But, and you always have to do this, I think. I'll be looking throughout the season to see if I can make any improvements to it. And I won't hesitate to do so if the right opportunity comes about. So with that, thank you all for watching, everyone. I've definitely been in Worlds prep mode and having to balance that with the you know, a full-time job. But with Worlds ending like next week, hopefully I win. I probably won't, but hopefully I win. Once that's done, I will hopefully have the time to keep doing this type of content with VDL, the VDL Serum Shot Division, and if I'm fortunate enough to make the PDCL Code Red. It would be nice to get content out for both leagues. Got an eight-week season to look forward to with 24 teams, Division 6, top 2 make it, and then 4 more wild cards. So so essentially, once that's done, hopefully we'll be in one of the top 2 and guarantee playoffs that way. As I mentioned, transactions are allowed. I've got 4 of them. I do intend to stream my sets on Twitch, and you can find it on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/bdons. And yeah, with what I've seen from VDL in the past, especially how they tend to go hard with some of the promotion videos and all that stuff, I'm definitely looking forward to competing in this league. Hopefully I can do well. So with that, thank you all for watching, and good luck to everyone playing this season.